Right now, heading in, we're just going to start things out on Ruins. Hong Kong Attitude is the home team here. Starting things out with the Ryan Goats composition. The 3-3 going to be mirrored on the same, with Giant Esports also playing the Ryan Goats.
We have seen Sage and God in on the DPS role with Sun Series coming into the team just last week. So, sticking with that lineup for now, we'll see if they've been able to just refine things a bit after last week.
Yeah, sort of expected here. Both teams are going to meet each other in this middle section, but any play that falls off, it's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Tita Watt very forward.
Yeah, Charlotte nearly took a bit too much pain there, but was able to back up despite the Discord orb on him. Going forward for the stun on Tita Watt. This is just giving Hong Kong Attitude some space to play with on the point.
It's just going to rotate directly onto it as it unlocks now. Giant Esports need to be the ones to respond and contest.
Just getting aggressive, trying to find a wrap around, contesting at the last possible moment there, but Tita Watt in a bit too deep. The backup was just a fraction of a second too late. Now Giant Esports all in disjointed times and just getting cleaned up as the point caps for Hong Kong Attitude.
You can see the opening sort of player, well, area control there by Hong Kong Attitude. They're able to push forward, push Giant Esports out of that opening bridge section, make them go and rotate the back way around, and then as the point starts to unlock, Giant Esports feeling like they need to be going in here. Tita Watt goes for the long range charge, gets way out of position, gets taken down, and then Hong Kong Attitude using the Ryan advantage, cleans up the fight and now going and rotating its ultimates.
Yeah, that's the thing. Speaking of Ryan advantage, a Ting coming up on that Earth Shadow. Also perfect leading into grab charge. And look at this. I like the position Hong Kong Attitude are holding, playing for that choke point when they've got those ultimates available soon.
You can start cashing in on the ultimates as well. Transcendence being used. Grav ready to go by Perfect.
It's the Shadow that comes in first. Decent save though out of Pichu, but just not quite enough to surmount that damage on the Tita Watt. And now this is Giant in full retreat. Sage and God not quite going to get out alive. Too much charge on Perfect. The rest making it back in base, but this is a spawn camp.
And for Hong Kong Attitude, they do expend a couple of ults there. The rally was obviously free for Giant Esports. Despite losing that, they're able to charge some counter ults, able to push in now towards the 60% mark. They don't want to be losing this one because they are at an advantage.
Now Giant, I mean, this is got to be the one, if any. Hong Kong Attitude know it. They're just slowly backing up, giving more space. Perfect, nice connection, self-destruct forward. Ooh, nearly timed that well with the shield bash, but not quite well enough to get a 6K, but VK's happy with the 2K.
To be honest, Rocket did have the sound barrier as well, so they had the opportunity to maybe defend against the Graviton Surge. Hong Kong Attitude have now spent a decent amount of ults, pushing towards the 80% mark. And for Giant Esports, this is when you're really expecting to throw out the grab. They got initiated on beforehand. This time it's their turn. They got two of the big tank ultimates in both Shatter and Grab. They need to use at least one, if not both.
Tricky thing is, CQB has barrier. Mango Giant soon to come up on a
connection.
Perfect is on his back. Grab goes off onto the side onto VK, so Perfect is down. VK is going to lose the mech here, and this is the opening Giants sorely need as they do push for the point. Rest of Hong Kong Attitude know when a fight is lost, and they're going to back up.
And that's both Hong Kong Attitude supports going down in the mix there, so none of the support ultimates, none of the defense ultimates able to come through to save the team as the Graviton Surge finally did come out of Giant Esports. Both of the big tank ultimates being expended there. A team does have an Earth Shadow now to counter-initiate for this next fight. Before Hong Kong Attitude, they have the time to play with before the time runs out.
Now Hong Kong Attitude, I mean, they're also only one fight away from taking this map. So, I mean, they only need one good Earth Shatter out of a Ting. That's really what they're going to be fishing for here. Moving them forward, very aggressive, waiting for a bash on Tita Watt. There it goes. Shadow across, but a fraction of a second too late. Tita Watt had the shield up, and that Transcendence from Mango Giant keeps them in the fight, but they're unable to press much of an advantage.
Both teams looking to really go into this fight now. Sound barriers even being used by both sides.
Yeah, they needed to rescue their tanks there. A Ting was low, and so was Sun Series, but it's Sun Series who takes too much pain, and another excellently placed self-destruct from BK. That'll be all she wrote for that one. Both teams kind of draining themselves dry, but at the end of it, that self-destruct was enough to push it over the line from Hong Kong Attitude, and they will secure Ruins.
Yep, nobody else from Giant Esports going to be able to contest onto that one. Both Ryans even had the self-destruct, or rather, sorry, the Earth Shadows available. Unfortunately, it's going to get taken down super early. That's going to be it. And off the back of what was basically a very quick, decisive opening from Hong Kong Attitude, secures them to the early point, wins 2 more fights in a row. They're able to snowball that effectively into a round win.
Now we move on to Well, where we've seen a lot of Super McCree. Earlier today, though, between GE, Pantheon, and Cyclone was a bit of an adaptation thereof to two different parts of that. We were seeing something very, very different and a lot of sort of fresh adaptation. Very little goats v goats, but here it does appear that both teams are wanting to stick to the goats.
And both teams here are not going to be playing the sort of Orisa variant with the McCree as well. The Orisa McCree Super McCree composition. Both teams just want to go for more of a regular goats. One with the Winston on the Hong Kong Attitude side, and the other one, Tita Watt's going to be playing the Ryan.
Hong Kong Attitude should have high mobility here. Giant just pushing to try and close. They're not going to let Hong Kong Attitude get a nice big long engage. They want to get T1 up in close. So Hong Kong Attitude, there's the counter engage on top of T1. Has to have some bubbles and shields up. That bubble's down now, and T1 just has to retreat. Sunseer is a little bit isolated. Giant are a little bit scattered here, but they've actually weathered the worst of it.
They're about to cap as well. Hong Kong Attitude do need to press the issue here. They do need to find an opening kill, and they do.
Yeah, right onto Saiyajin God as the rest of Giant were rotating onto the point. The cap was well timed from Giant, but Hong Kong Attitude kind of saw the angle there. They saw the opportunity as Giant had to move to the point to ensure it got secured. Hong Kong Attitude set up for a surround, and here we just see the cleanup.
We do have Giant Esports eventually did taking the cap though, so 16% going for them. And for Hong Kong Attitude, the first ultimate that actually comes up for them is the Primal Rage by Ting. He did the majority of the damage in that preceding team fight, and very difficult for a team running Winston, playing into Goats to find, playing into the Rhine Goats rather, to find the correct opening. You don't just want to dive in head first, you need to make sure you can access backline, find damage on the supports as well. For Giant now, working up towards that Earth Shatter, that should be their advantage, as well as double support.
Big difference here as well will be the grab. Perfect doubling Saiyajin God in that charge for the most part. That's a huge bump. Saiyajin God's still going to be a long way away from that grab. They're probably not even going to need to commit their own here, Hong Kong Attitude, with the way this fight is going. If they could preserve all ultimates in this fight, this would be so huge. And
they certainly do. Shailin is about to get another rally here if he sort of continues on this pathway. And for Giant Esports, they're collecting a decent number of ults, but losing Saiyajin God straight away. By the way, this is not helping them catch up to the grab meter so far. And they're certainly going to need that. They still maintain the rest of their ultimates, which is important, but both teams resetting while Hong Kong Attitude continue getting progress on top of the point. Hong Kong Attitude definitely come out ahead.
CQB just taxing Perfect back to the point. Giant have taken a long time to reset. Only just getting back into this fight now, and look at this. Grab right on top of the team. Self-destruct layered in there. Not ideal, but they catch Rocket. Nice bump over the side there from a Ting. That's going to be plenty enough to secure the fight. A little bit more expensive this time for Hong Kong Attitude, but they're pushing up to 80% now.
Giant Esports actually committed into that as well. Both Rocket and Pixie did use Sound Barrier Transcendence. That's going to be a little bit disappointing because now going to further fights, they won't have that sort of defense advantage. That being said, at least Perfect did use a Graviton Surge. You see from Hong Kong Attitude, not scared to pull the trigger early. They know they're facing up against an Earth Shatter, and the way to play against that is, well, if you grab the Rhine up, he can't find the Shatter.
Speaking of grab, Saiyajin God still has yet to have won this game. This will be his first in what could be the last fight if it goes really south for Giant. We really need to see T1 connect.
And they're running out of time to do so as well as we do enter the overtime now. Saiyajin God is nearly on the grab. And we do have the double tank ultimate combo that is so deadly. But Giant, they need to pull the trigger on this fast.
They can't afford to rotate too wide here. Oh, nearly big environmental kills, but not quite. Saved from the brink there. Earth Shatter laid with the grab. Bit of redundancy, but if the shoe fits, that is going to be a kill onto Mango Giant. Now, Giant needs to leverage the rest of these ultimates. Pichu needs to not be hesitant on this Transcendence here. If it needs to be used, he should commit it. But it looks like they'll be able to get away with not commit. Actually, use it for safety's sake, right as I say that. Of course he does.
Oh, wow.
Disgusting from CQB. That Transcendence does not save you from environmental kills, drowning down that well. And now another grab comes out from the other side of that. I mean, that's the difference there between Perfect and Saiyajin God. 3 grabs to 1 over the course of that game.
Yeah, the other thing is Hong Kong Attitude, despite in a losing position right in that final fight as well, CQB finding the double environmental kills to be able to push members into the wall, including Transcendence being used by Pichu. And then on top of that, they're able to throw in a grab to lock out the rest of the members from contesting. So they get a double kill, and the remaining members don't get to go on top of the point. The overtime finishes, and that becomes a map win for Hong Kong Attitude.
And just a heads up, we will just be popping offline for 1 hot second, so do stick around. We will be right back.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you again for powering through the delays with us as we now head into, or about to head into, map number 2 of the series here between Hong Kong Attitude and Giant Esports. Hong Kong Attitude going up 1-0 in the series after what was a pretty commanding lead in terms of the early odds there, 2-0 in terms of rounds on that map.
Yeah, it didn't really break a sweat there, I'll be honest. I mean, you're also just seeing what is, to be frank, the discrepancy between the team that is currently top of the tails and bottom. It's not to say that Giants have nothing to go on at all here. They're just not quite up to the same caliber, and this is a team that was making roster changes as recently as last week. It's fair to say that they've still just not yet quite found their feet as a team, but moving forward, Giant map pick will be Hollywood.
Yeah, and this is going to be where you may expect some more DPSs to sort of pop out. Both teams so far playing it reasonably safe, sticking onto the 3-3 GOATs compositions, usually the mirrors as well. Going into something like Hollywood, this is where, you know, with players like Perfect and even Siege God on the Giant Esports end, we are starting to see a lot more different compositions, especially based on match 1, where Cyclone Coupling, probably the most experimental team here, are definitely trying to go outside the scope of what's currently meta.
It's quite interesting to see, especially on Well, neither team opting into any kind of Super McCree, but we do know the capacity of, at the very least, Hong Kong Attitude to play something similar, which is the bunker composition. That is looking like what they're going to run here.
Yeah, so Hong Kong Attitude are going to be defending first. Perfect onto the McCree, Shylin onto the Junkrat, something that we know him very well for. Hiding the steel trap even under some boxes, and for Giant Esports, going to stick to something a bit safe here again, going to be playing the Ryan Goats, but they are going to get heavily damaged by Shylin, so keep your eye on his ultimate meter.
It's exactly why you run this bunker composition here. It's not a flat out-and-out anti-goats, but the amount of damage it gets against the goats comp on the approach, you see this here.
It is 20%.
Those grenades can just kind of bypass a bit here. 20% already, like you said.
And now you look at the rotation for Hong Kong Attitude. They don't need to fight in terms of the cafe. Oh, that's a nice play from Giant Esports straight on the point.
Real kind of double bluff there from Giant, and not spotted out either. So now Hong Kong Attitude in a terrible position, to say the least. And Giant just really trying to make the most of it now. Unfortunate to lose Pichu in the mix there, but Sun Series able to run down his counterpart in BK, tops up his health, wraps back around to the point where Tidawat's already dealt with Shylin. And now it's just kind of a Ting in the pilot form BK, not anymore at least, really up a creek without a paddle.
And Ting just finds himself in the middle of nowhere here. So does Mango Jive for Giant Esports. Because they're able to just catch Hong Kong Attitude out, Perfect here is just going to delay for as long as he can, but I don't think he's going to do too much.
Yeah, a bit of a late commit there. I mean, you can understand why from Perfect. By the time he swapped, there would still be members alive on the point. By the time he got there unfortunately wasn't.
And just a great read by Giant Esports. They expected that Hong Kong Attitude were going to make the rotation, so they cut him off midway. And Shylin worked up to 45%, but not quite onto the tire. As soon as he was exposed, he couldn't do too much damage anymore. Look at Giant now. They have a large string of ultimates coming online. And for Hong Kong Attitude, freshly swapping onto a Ryan Goats, they're starting at 0.
Yeah, they've got a lot of resetting to do here. Earth Shatter is decent. They can finish off Perfect here, especially. Nice catch. There we go. And not quite rescued, unfortunately, by that Transcendence, which has now run out as the grab runs across. And a double for Sun Series will all but seal the fight.
There's 4 ultimates used by Giant Esports there, but they do win, and they still have Transcendence coming online as well as a sound barrier soon. Late kill in the CQB Mons means just an added stagger there for Hong Kong Attitude as they try and respawn and re-defend this, but they will get another shot, and likely here, they have a good chance of winning because suddenly a Ting is working his way up towards an Earthshatter, and Tidawat is just a little bit behind.
Yeah, this is really where these things can turn around, but the real tell could actually be these support ultimates. You see Pichu already has a Transcendence, Rocket close to a sound barrier, and can't quite say the same for CQB and Mango just yet.
Look for the setup here. Shylin's going to try and find the shield bash onto Tidawat. They should open things up for the Shatter.
Ooh, Tidawat really in trouble. No man's land there, and the Shatter comes across the rest of the team. Relatively clean fight here from Hong Kong Attitude, just sort of zoning Giant into an awkward spot. That sound barrier came out from Giant as well, so even bigger advantage now accrued for Hong Kong Attitude.
What you can sort of tell here is despite Hong Kong Attitude losing the fight just before this, a team managed to get up to about 60 to 70% ult charge, comes back through, knows he has the lead against Tidawat, who wasn't that far behind himself, but he does have the Earth Shadow while Tidawat does not. Shylin goes for the shield bash combo, Tidawat shields down, and then a Ting finds the opening he needs.
It's just so neat and tidy, and it's what we saw out of Ilios as well. Now Hong Kong Attitude just keeping some forward pressure. Giant are going to have to wade through a lot of damage before they can really engage. And Hong Kong Attitude still have the advantage in the fights. They can just see ground, waste time.
Doesn't really hit.
What? Big whiff there, already caught CQB, who was just too well defended, and now Hong Kong Attitude, they look to get aggressive. Grabs not stopped up in any way, shape, or form, and BK nicely placed. They'll be able to D-Mech Sun Series off the back of that one. And now this becomes a rout for Hong Kong Attitude, just leaning into their ultimate advantage, starting to run down the clock for Giant.
A lot more kills here for Hong Kong Attitude as well, doubling the Ting's ult charge even off of one grab. He started at about 40%, now up to about almost 90 here. Giant Esports should be looking to counter with their own Graviton Surge, and CQB is ready to receive that with his sound barrier. So now Hong Kong Attitude is in a good position to continue defending as the time ticks down.
Perfect's retained his charge while Saiyajin God has had to reset it, unfortunately. So Perfect will be able to actually charge up a grab relatively fast here. Saiyajin God's window is quite narrow.
You can see the Ting here has another shadow, so soon it lands.
Oh, under Sun Series and Saiyajin God. They've already found T1, interestingly enough, on the front of that one. And there's going to be a bit more follow-up on the Saiyajin God now routing out the rest. Pichu in trouble. Will not be able to make it back to base by the looks of things, and neither will Sun Series. This is just really clean from Hong Kong Attitude, and with almost no ultimates to go on for that fight.
And Perfect's about to get his own Graviton Surge now, so off the back of the Earth Shadow from a Ting, who by the way now has 62% catching up to T1. Giant Esports had one opening there. They had the Graviton Surge advantage. They didn't quite get to use that because T1 went down so early. They need to be the ones really pushing the initiative here, really finding these fights, but Perfect's ready to answer.
And it's tough. I feel like they're almost getting in their own head here now that they've lost some fights where they should have had an advantage. It's really hard for Giant to kind of rally back into this one. There's going to be the grab to come out.
Perfect goes first.
Again, just preempting and comboed up with VK. They've already got the damage in there. T1 can't keep pointing the shield in every single direction at once, unfortunately. And again, just a rout.
And I want to point out VK's positioning there on the small roof, just towards the left from Saiyajin God's positioning. He wanted to find a Graviton location, but Perfect, or rather VK, just kept his sights on Saiyajin God the entire time. Kind of got poked out by Sun Series, but it wasn't quite enough. Eventually, Perfect finds the opening first, and he gets the cleanup. Speaking of cleanup,
bumping up T1 to the air, Earthshadow and the rest of the team. Good save from Pichu, but still less than a minute relay. Oh, grab got in and out of Saiyajin God. The only one he's really been able to commit this whole game so far. Self-destruction got to be big. It is not. Mushroom gets picked. Now Saiyajin God gets charged out.
It's only a 4-man.
Are just running on fumes here. They blew everything in that fight and got nothing for any of their most high-impact ultimates. Still 30 seconds to go. They're not out just yet, but it does not get any dire than this.
VK is a hunter-killer for getting those Graviton Surges while just watching Saiyajin God like a hawk, and for Giant Esports perpetually just at a player disadvantage. This time around, Pichu, or rather Rocket, feels like we need to do something here. Lands the sound barrier onto 4. We've got 20 seconds left.
I don't even know if they'll touch the cart. The grab is there. The Earth Shadow's there as well in case anyone does start to slip through, and they indeed will not. Might have been a bit overzealous to commit the Shatter in that particular scenario, but honestly, Rocket, Saiyajin God, Pichu just trying to barrel towards the cart in any way, shape or form. 2 seconds, 1 second, no time left, and no one is there. That's a hold.
And for Giant Esports, they had such a great start from the sort of alley-oop play, or rather just the loop-de-loop, kind of waiting for the rotation from Hong Kong Attitude, sort of preempting that as well, seeing that they are going to rotate through and then intercepting it on top of the point. That's not where you want to be if you're the Arista. Let's take a look at how this grab disappeared so quickly for Saiyajin God. Throws it out there. This was the Shatter. Yeah. Never mind.
I mean, and actually, I believe just after this, the grab gets eaten as well. So, I mean, that's really insult to injury, isn't it? And this is the thing, the Shadow was decent. Pichu was able to follow it up very quickly with a Transcendence that saved the team. So this one ultimate, despite the snazzy play, wasn't very high impact. But then Giant unfortunately missed their opportunity to turn the fight around from that point.
By the way, it's not an easy thing for CQB to do there as well, because you're at high risk of being shield bashed by someone like Mushroom on the Brigadier as soon as you go in, and you have to be timing these things very well. You have to know the shield bash is definitely down. You have to see the opening and have a Ting ready at the fingertips to press that ultimate button straight away. So, well calculated play there. That's why I like to call them close quarters boot. That's what it stands for in my head.
I think as well, this is I mean, it's not exactly a hard out tech, but it is a nice way to take a Reinhardt by surprise when they're maybe expecting a shield bash from the Brigida. They're not necessarily expecting that play from the Lucio.
And the other thing is, Giant Esports, they had the momentum going into B after quickly capping A out, but unfortunately, that one fight loss from Hong Kong Attitude, forcing the full reset onto Giant, who kind of overcommitted with 4 ults the previous fight. That's what really lost that momentum for them early on. Let's take a look now on Hong Kong Attitude's offense. They only need to make it part way through B and they will collect a 2-0 in the series. So Giant Esports need a decent hold onto A, I would suppose, to really break down that time.
It's going to be double Rain Goats as well. We did have a scouting Hanzo, so Hong Kong Attitude should know what they're up against here. And honestly, like you said, Giant Esports, they need to get a good hold here. It needs to be fast.
Already walking backwards.
The snowball. That's the thing.
They're losing a lot of space here in Hong Kong Attitude. They're not shy about taking it.
And they're losing a lot of ult charge opportunity as well. Look at how much a Ting has up on Titawat here. Perfect up on Sage. God.
Series low.
Mushroom's the only one staying competitive in the ult charge right now, and Sun Series nearly out of the mech, but not quite. But in the time it takes to get back up and heal, they've given up so much ground here. I think the cap's just a gimme at this point, and that's at the late kills starting to coming through now for Hong Kong Attitude. Giant, not only have they lost the point, they've also died super late.
And this is the thing, Hong Kong Attitude just slowly push Giant Esports off the cap, and it's just a difference in damage output. If your players are just out-damaging Giant Esports that heavily, you're going to get the early fight openings, you're going to push them off, and now they will snowball through as well. Graviton ready to go, Sage God not quite there. At least Titawat is slightly ahead of a Ting. That's something they can maybe rely on, and they need just about everything here because it's a one attempt push of Hong Kong Attitude. 5 minutes still to get through midway part of B.
Both teams have used the rally now. We've got match transcendences, but CQB far closer to that sound barrier. And all it really takes is one good grab out of Perfect.
Sun Series needs to be really pressuring out Perfect here, similar to what VK was doing earlier. Titawat's making his way up, but that's the grab. It kind of misses.
It does get Titawat. They're not actually able to finish him off, though, so that's a little bit subpar for Giant. Now, counter grab to come out from Sage and God. Decent connects up. Oh! I was going to say a bit late on the self-destruct, but Titawat finds an angle on a Earth Shatter to keep them all in place while that one finishes charging up. Decent 3K. This is Giant in an okay position.
And CQB actually used the sound barrier there, so that advantage remains for Rocket going into this next defensive fight. A Ting is going to have the Shadow available though, so Rocket needs to get this ultimate up quickly. But Giant Esports have been given another opportunity to defend. They have survived one offense now.
Perfect is still leading in ult charge though. There's the Earth Shatter out of a Ting. There's the counter with the sound barrier. So both tools leveraged effectively thus far. Question is now what's going to break the fight open for either of these teams. You see Sun Series and Titawat low, and that's eventually just going to pressure them out. That's what.
Watch Perfect.
Yeah, just wrap around the backside. Already got grab available, ready to throw it out at a moment's notice. Threads the needle, captures all these members far, far back. But A, they're not following up, and B, they're not actually on the cart itself. Giant are the ones getting the kills. A bit of an overextension there from Hong Kong Attitude.
And that's the thing. Perfect throughout the Graviton Surge. It landed on a lot of members, but 2 already went down for Hong Kong Attitude. Very difficult to follow up when you've only got a 4 versus 6, and you have other Giant members still right in your face. And now for Giant Esports, they survive yet another offense. Things starting to really look pretty good now. Things starting to turn around quite positively for Hong Kong Attitude. Only the rally and the self-destruct to play with, but for Giant Esports, much bigger guns here. It's Sage and God back with the Graviton Surge. Was looking for a bit of an angle to hide it in, but still needs to watch out for VK, who has already eaten one of his grabs today.
So here's Hong Kong Attitude again, just barreling in, wasting no time. This time retaining possession of the card as they move. Good stun on Titawat. They're just trying to keep the pressure up and force Giant to give ground.
Giant shouldn't be giving ground though. They need to get aggressive. They have the advantage and they lose it.
That got eaten by VK, who throws the self-destruct forward over all these slam down members, and that is going to be it. I mean, with all... It was certainly only a matter of time for Hong Kong Attitude, but an excellent connection at the end to prove that they are still top dog. Now they go 2-0 up in the series.
There it is, Hong Kong Attitude claiming that one. Again, reasonably comfortably, lost a couple of fights in the middle there on both offense and defense. The only thing that was really shaky was that original A defense where they couldn't quite get the tie going where they did. Sort of got out macro to out decision just a little bit there. So decent plays from Giant Esports, but the issue comes down to, again, when you have these sort of even moments and both teams are posturing against each other, playing this mirror 3-3 Ryan Goats, it's Hong Kong Attitude that continually out-damage Giant Esports, that continually push Giant Esports back. And the real big difference you start to see is when ults do come up, it's Perfect with the grab, it's a Ting with a Shadow that are not afraid to get in there, Charlie with the shield bash shut-ups as well, to use these ultimates to have high initiative, going the other way around. Sage and God, you can see, and the rest of Giant Esports constantly moving backwards. They should know it's our time to press the go button. We need to be using these ultimates or it's not going to happen for us.
They feel almost a bit timid maybe, or second guessing themselves, but they just need to have the confidence here.
They certainly do, and they need to get that confidence up and running very soon, sooner rather than later, because we are going to head to the halfway break here as we sort of wait to see how things pan out for maps 3 and 4. So you don't want to go anywhere. Overwatch Contenders Pacific continues right after this.